Hello everybody, CW here. We're going to try something a little bit different this morning. I want to revisit setting up a die for moving your shoulder back, whatever you want. I'm looking for 2 to 3 thousandths shoulder bump. And I want to show you some of the downfalls or some of the things to be aware of when you're doing this. Now I'm hoping this is going to be good or better quality. I'm doing this on my wife's iPad, and we're going to see how this works. I'm hoping that it works out good. I know I've got a little bit of angle issues going on, and it's a learning curve with the new format. I just got a new mount to put it on the tripod, so I hope that works out. I've got a case on the iPad, and it makes it a little bit thicker, and it doesn't grab it quite as I'd like. So I hope it doesn't pop out on me. Anyway, we're going to use 308 because I've got to load some up for my buddy anyway. I've got 10 PPU cases here that were fired in his gun just the other day. We've got a caliper here with a Hornady neck bump gauge in it. It's digital, not my favorite, but it's going to be okay because it's easier to read. We're going to use the Lyman American 8 press. We're going to use some Redding dies, and I'm going to go a couple different angles. So to start, I want to show you a couple different things. We're going to remove the center pin, the firing pin. The primer decapping pin, because I just want to deal with the case. But I'm going to show you how things can change with your setup. And I don't want to do this to make you crazy. I know that we can be really anal. A lot of reloaders are really anal about things, and I don't want to make this worse for you. But I know it's going to for some people. But it's how far you want to take it. So you take out of this what you want. I just want to show you not to take some things for granted. A lot of what's been viewed online is not wrong information, but it's not complete information. So I want you to see that some little things that you do that might be different from what they did are going to end up with different results for you, which may cause you frustrations. And I want to show you why and how and what you can do to stop them. So let's start out with the cases. Now we're going to start out with a clean case. You want to make sure you've got nothing on your shoulder and nothing on your base. You want a nice clean case. Very first thing we're going to do is let's just deprime these. I just realized this does not fit in the shell holder here. I don't know why. It should. Maybe that's a bird case. All right. That one went in. Didn't go in great, but it went in. So let's just deprime these. Let me take you off camera. You don't need to see me deprime cases. Alrighty. All cleaned, all wiped off, all deprimed. I just wanted to start there as it's a good, square, solid place to start. All cases have been looked at for any kind of issues with them, so everything should be fine. Again, we're going to use a Redding die, and we're going to screw this in until it just touches. No more. We're going to tighten down the lock screw, just so it doesn't move. That's it. So there's our starting point. We don't know what it is, what we're going to have. We're going to find out. Start out with a case, brand new case here. Turn it on. Zero it out. Only because it's easier to read. Put your case in there. And then we're gonna, where am I? Got glares here. We're gonna re-zero and we're gonna spin. And you want to spin it to make sure that all the grid is off, everything is seated good, and you're gonna see that you're gonna gain a little bit. We lost 1/1000, or yeah, 1/1000. So let's just re-zero that. Now we know we're square and start. Now we'll set this down. Don't change your adjustments. Take your brass, give it a little bit of lube, put it in your press, run it up in, back out. I just like to clean it off so I don't get lube all over everything. And let's see what we've got. Just touching the shell holder. Shell goes back in, everything goes back on, and oh, we're in metric. Let's get over in inches. Looks like we grew 1/1000 of an inch. Where's our number? I'm sorry. The iPad is different. We grew 1/1000 of an inch. Otherwise, we should have seen a negative number. So we're going to screw it in a little bit more. Our die. Let's screw our die in a little bit more. I don't know, 1/8. Just go by feel. Re-lube it up. We wiped our lube off. Turn it up in again. Put it back in here and read it again. It's a lot bigger than the phone. It's a little harder to get around. All right, see that little bit of movement? We're at 3/1000. I'm sorry. Yeah, see it? Where's our point? Our point is between the two big zeros. So we've got 0, 0, 3. And I apologize for the glare. It's really hard. I'm looking through my peepers here, and it's a little bit blurry for me. So I'm thinking you can see that. We're at 3. Okay. Good, right? We're done, right? We got 3/1000 just like that. Boom, boom, boom. We're set. 3/1000 was the big side of our target. We're done. But wait, hold on, I didn't really tighten this down. So let's loosen this back up. Let's tighten our set screw, because we don't want to lose our adjustment, right? This is what you're going to do. Tighten your set screw down and put it in your press. And then tighten your die down to make sure that your die doesn't move. This is all what you do, right? You know, everything we do. Let's put our stem back in so we can decap all of our cases. And you don't want it down there too awful far, but you know how to set that up. We're not going to go through all that. All right, so this is good. We're going to set this in the pan over here. We're going to take another piece of brass. Now we're going to make sure that it's the same. We're going to zero it out again, just because I want to make sure that we've got nothing going on that's going to, skew our numbers. And you can see this one is 1/1000 shorter. No problem. Zero it out. We're back on 0. Everything's good. Set our tool down careful. We don't want to bump anything. Put just a little bit of lube on your brass. Keep it off your shoulder and neck. You don't want to make hydraulic dents. Put it up in here. Put it up in the press. Back out. Everything's good. Wipe it off. Let's measure. 3/1000. Remember? We had 3/1000 shoulder bump. We were all set and everything is fine. What on God's green earth? 5.5 thousandths? What just happened? What did we do? What happened? Okay. Here's what I'm talking about. Most stuff you see online will show you what I just showed you. Screw your die in until you get a number, read it, set your die, lock it down, you're done. You're not done. There's tons of variables. One variable, socking down your die. If you don't sock your die down, snug it down the same, it's going to be different. Number two, the stem. That stem going down in and pulling back out, okay? It's brass, it's soft. You're going to resize it, it's going to push that shoulder back. You're going to pull that mandrel back out through, it's going to pull on your unsupported shoulder, and it's going to stretch it. We're talking about thousandths of an inch. It's not much to move it a thousandth or two. You saw, we just moved it 2.5 thousandths of an inch with the mandrel. Okay, this is clean brass, relatively, but let's set this aside. We didn't really lube the inside or clean the inside of the case necks. So let's do this over again. I've got a brush over here, and all I'm doing, it's on my case prep center, and you've seen it in the previous videos. It's just a stand-up brush, and all I did was run the neck inside to give it some, clean out any grit, any carbon that's in there, get it cleaned out. Wipe everything back off. This is a brand new case, or a fired case in the gun. Let's check our setup. Okay, we are a little bit fat. Let's zero it out. We're back on 0. Let's lube this one up. And run this through. The only thing we've done is brush out that case neck. Let's rub just a little bit of lube off my finger on that case neck, so we get a little bit of lube in there. Run this down, run this back out, wipe it off. Back on the measuring device. We actually have moved it. Where are we here? We're back to 4:35. So just lubing up that case neck has gotten us back a little bit farther. Let's set that one aside. Let's take another case. Let's clean the case neck again. Just carbon, grit, anything in there that might cause drag, resistance, harder to pull that back out, which might change our numbers. Put a little bit of lube on here. A little bit of lube on there. Now, we socked this down really hard. Make sure it wouldn't move. So let's account for that by loosening this set screw and just giving this a skosh back for that little bit of torque in the threads. Just a tiniest little bit. Tighten the screw back down, save our setting. Put this back in, tighten this down, tighten it back down the same way. Okay, now we're lubed. We've readjusted our die. Got everything set. Run it down, run it back out. Wipe it all off. Come back over here into our press. All right, we went a little bit too far with my moving the die. We've bumped the shoulder 1.5 thousandths. So we want to bump it just a little bit more. We want to move the shoulder back just a little bit more. So let's set this aside. These are all, some of the cases they're all fine. We didn't ruin anything. If you want ultimate precision, all the ones that are short, you probably should just put a hash mark on them. Shoot them as sighters, shoot them as, you know, your first shots out of the gun, warm up the barrel, whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it. Don't use them as your ultimate precision check sight or zero with. They're fine. They're just not going to be as perfect as the rest. So set those aside. The ones that are long, obviously we can push them back farther and they'll be fine. So we're going to adjust here a little bit farther. Let's back this die out just a little bit. Loosen this set screw. Turn this just a little bit back. We want to gain back just a little bit, just a skosh. You saw we only moved it a bit, so it's not going to take much. Put this back. Put this back. And try and torque it the same, because it's obviously, you've seen it. It makes a difference. Let's take another new piece of brass, or another fired piece of brass. Let's clean up this case neck inside. Now there's a little bit of residual lube on this brush, but mostly I'm just scrubbing out any large debris of carbon that's in there. So a little bit of lube on the outside so we don't stick a case. And this is Imperial sizing wax. Put a little bit on the inside of the case mouth. Now very little bits going in here. I'm just using the case mouth to scrape off my index finger that I touched. I just touched. I didn't rub it. I didn't scoop out a big chunk. I just touched it. So not very much lube is in there. Down and back out. Good catch there, huh? All right, wipe it off just to keep lube controlled. Put this in our case gauge. Run it in here. Oops, bumped my foot. What do we got here? We have not moved it at all. That little bit didn't move it at all. We're right at 1.5 thousandths. I can still use this piece because we're going to move it farther. A little bit more. Doesn't take much, so don't get really excited and move it a lot, because you're going to have to go round and round and round. Sometimes that's just how it works. You've got to go round and round. Again, just touch that lube, because it doesn't take a whole lot. Put the remainder on the inside of the case mouth. Wipe it off. Back over here. All right. We are at 2. I was just at 2.5. Let me get this spinning here. 2. I guess we're at 2. I thought I saw 2.5. 1.52. Okay, we're at 2. 1.52. 2.5. This is why you spin it, because sometimes you're going to get some debris under here or debris in here. And it doesn't take much for 0.5 thousandths. 2 to 2.5. That's what we want. 2 to 3 thousandths shoulder bump achieved. There we go. Now, this is a good one. I'll go back and run those other ones through, and I'll go back and run the rest of them through. And I know that with this setup, using this shell holder in this press at this setup, I'm going to pretty reliably get my 2.5 thousandths shoulder bump, which is my target. Don't get anal like you have to have it. You can be fine with 4 or 5 thousandths shoulder bump. I don't like to go less by a lot, because again, we're talking about small numbers, and if you've got a dirty chamber or if you've got some debris on your cartridges, you can you can have some problems with too little shoulder bump. So you try it for yourself. You try your gun. You experiment with a couple thousandths, 3,000ths, 4,000ths, 2,000ths, and see what you like. See if you see a difference. Maybe you see no difference at all, and you know the only difference is going to be case life. That's a little harder to measure. You decide for yourself. I'm not telling you have to do this. I'm not doing this, showing you this, telling you this to make you crazy, because I know we do have some OCD reloaders. It's something that seems to be common with reloaders, and it's a good thing, because you know, you check all that powder, you make sure that your powder's in every case, you make sure everything's primed properly, you make sure, and it's consistency makes good loads. Don't make yourself crazy. You know, you don't have to worry about this. It's something you can take on if you want to try and build a better, more accurate load. You don't have to do this. I like to play with it, try and make the most accurate load I can. I made another video before and we had it all fouled up. I was trying to add together numbers. I was dealing with millimeters. I was trying to do conversion in my head, and I know I lost a lot of you. I didn't delete it, but I did make the video private so I don't confuse people watching it down the road. Hopefully this one is going to be more understandable and it can be better received. Again, I don't want to make anybody crazy, so don't take this as gospel. CW said, you know, it's a guide. It's what I do. It's how I do it. I just wanted to show you that make sure you've got clean cases. Make sure you got clean necks. Make sure you go and consider all the variables, like torquing down your die, neck tension on your expander ball, pulling it back through the case, which is why we want clean necks. Think about all those things, because we're only talking about a few thousandths of an inch. You know, very, very, very thin. It doesn't take much to change that. So you can be going along thinking you're all grand, and you're actually way out in left field because you didn't take into consideration your brand new Starline case you just opened the bag for is what you set everything up with, and now you're loading once or thrice fired cases with carbon in the necks, and all of a sudden you got nowhere near what you think you got. Knowledge is power. Understand why. Understand the do's and don'ts, the hows and whys, and arrive at some of this stuff for yourself. You know, take what people tell you as a guide, something to research or something to check out. You may do this and find out that it doesn't do nothing for me. CW is all wet. What the hell is he telling me? And that's great. That's good. You figured it out for yourself, and you decided and made a decision based on your situation, your components, your environment, the way you do things. And it may be the case, but it may not. And it may be something that's even more important for your particular situation. You don't know until you try. Anyway, I wanted to do this. I've wanted to do it for a while. I hope it's understandable. I hope I've given you some things to chew on and think about. God bless everybody. Tell those people you love them. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. God bless everybody. CW out.